Hello, this is Dr. Houston here to talk to you about creating standards-based lessons and assessments. We will be using the new 2024 National Physical Education Standards from Shape America. If you haven't already done so, I suggest you go to shapeamerica.org and find the national standards and download the educator kit. It's totally free and it's just a PDF of the new standards as well as the new rationale for going from 5 standards to 4. And they've also gone from having a learning indicator or a learning outcome for every individual grade level to having learning indicators for grade spans. So they will have grade spans of K through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12. So each of those learning indicators that you see will be what students are expected to know and be able to do by the end of that grade span. So once you download that document, you'll have a better idea of what I'm talking about. The other thing that's really great is that there are learning progressions in each of the new learning indicators. So the learning progressions provide sample sequential tasks addressing a range of skill abilities from pre-K through high school, and these can be used to unpack the grade span learning indicators. So these are great when you're planning your lessons and making sure that your lessons and your objectives are aligned with our standards. Okay. All right, so in physical education, our main mode of assessment is demonstration. We want our students to show us what they have learned by being able to demonstrate a skill, a movement, or an activity. So in other words, demonstration means show me by your actions that you have it. And that's how we can assess our students. Can they demonstrate a throw, a kick, a dribble, whatever it is you're teaching them? I also want to say about that if you are not teaching them a specific skill, then why are we assessing it? And what I'm talking about is dressing out and showing up. We are not teaching our students to dress out or to change their clothes. So why are we, as secondary educators, assessing that? That is not a skill. That is personal responsibility. They come to physical education prepared. So yes, using one of our standards of personal and social responsibility, we can assess them on being prepared. But as far as giving them a grade for dressing out, it's really inappropriate. And it's showing our administration that we don't really have to teach anything. We just grade on whether or not kids dress out, which is inappropriate. So just some food for thought. Okay, so the ultimate goal of physical education is physical literacy. But what is physical literacy? Let's talk about it. Physical literacy is the ability to move with competence and confidence in a wide variety of activities in multiple environments that benefit the health development of the whole person. All right, so we're going to break this definition down a little bit. So when we say competence and confidence in wide variety, multiple environments, whole person. So there's a whole lot of verbiage there that we're going to break down even further. But those words in red, those are the ones that we're most concerned with. So clearly competence means that they're not really just learning a skill. They're not needing to practice it a ton. They've not perfected it because there's no such thing as perfection. But they're competent enough to get out there and want to participate. And then there's confidence. They can do it. They have the confidence to feel, okay, I can do this. I'm competent enough in my skills. I feel that I can participate in this activity. What type of activities? Well, a wide variety of activities. Dance, fitness, games and activities, gymnastics, individual activities, lifetime activities, outdoor pursuits. The list goes on, but we want our students to have exposure to all these different types of activities. And the hope is they will find something that they find enjoyable and pleasurable, that they can participate in for a lifetime in order to meet those healthy habits and lead a healthy lifestyle. Multiple environments: land, water, air, ice. I know ice is probably not in everybody's repertoire, but hey, you never know. I used to teach in Colorado and we taught snowshoeing. Some places they teach ice hockey. So we want our students to be able to participate in all different activities, but the only way they'll learn and to get to know these activities is if we present them. And then there's the whole person. Physical education is the only content area, in my opinion, that addresses all of the different areas of learning: cognitive, physical, social, and emotional. And you could also throw in there physical activity, physical fitness. We are the only content area that looks at the whole person. So children who possess inadequate motor skills are often relegated to a life of exclusion from the organized and free play experiences of their peers, and subsequently to a lifetime of inactivity because of their frustrations and early movement behavior. So one of my pet peeves, especially for secondary teachers, is having kids run the mile or making them run because the locker room wasn't clean or they weren't quiet, or having them do push-ups because they were misbehaving in class. What we're doing by using physical activity as punishment is teaching our students to not enjoy physical activity. And they will be those who decide that a lifetime of inactivity is better, even though we clearly know there are no health benefits to being sedentary. I'm also an adapted PE teacher, so all of my kiddos have disabilities. And I know that the population I work with, if I don't provide them with opportunities to be physically active, they won't get them anywhere else, more than likely. So it's very important for our kiddos with disabilities to have exposure to different ways of being physically active, even if they're in a wheelchair full time. There are ways that they can participate, but we need to provide them with those opportunities. Okay, so the focus of the new standards is on student learning. We as educators should not be assessing our students on their ability to change their clothes, as I mentioned before, because I'm pretty sure you did not teach them that skill. We need to focus our assessments on what we have taught them. So think about what it is you want your students to know and be able to do, and hopefully your objectives are aligned with the learning indicators and the new standards, and then you can gear your lessons towards teaching them those skills. Okay, so learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior or knowledge that is the result of practice or experience. So again, they're not going to learn these skills unless we expose them to the skills and then provide them with opportunities to practice. I've seen a lot of teachers who just say, okay, today we're doing golf, and they throw a golf club in the kids' hands and say, go. They haven't taught them anything. We need to provide them with our expertise, and even if we're not experts, we figure out how to teach them that skill. So they can be exposed to the activity, and then again, provide them with the opportunity to practice. The most effective way to plan your curriculum, your units, or your seasons, if you're a fan of sport education, and then of course your lessons, is to use the backwards planning design. Start from what you want them to know and be able to do, create an appropriate assessment, and then you plan how you will teach them what it is you want them to know and be able to do. So again, if you're looking at your standards and you're looking at those grade span indicators, that right there is your framework for your whole curriculum. This framework sort of allows you to build your curriculum by, these are all the things that I want my students to know by the time they leave either 8th grade or 12th grade. You pick one for the day, or one for your unit, or one for your activity that you're going to be teaching, and from there you create the assessment first before you plan the lesson. So here's how it works. So using your national standards as your framework, you decide what it is you want your students to know and be able to do by the end of your lesson. The grade span learning indicators identify skills that students should know and be able to do by the end of each grade span, but you as the teacher can break them down further for individual lessons by designing objectives that align with our learning indicators and our standards. And we're going to go over some examples here. So, this is for elementary, okay? And we are going to look at standard 1. By the end of 5th grade, I would want our students to be able to demonstrate striking an object with a short-handled implement in a variety of practice tasks. A short-handed implement could be a pickleball paddle. It could be a tennis racket. It could be a badminton racket. It could be a squash racket. Okay? Whatever it is that you decide. But this is just, they use the short-handled implement. It's a very vague term. So then you as the teacher can decide, okay, what activities do I want to use in order to meet this learning indicator? And then from there, you're going to come up with, what does it mean to strike with a short-handled implement? Okay? You're going to start in a ready position, turn sideways to target, brings paddle back, steps with front foot, contacts ball opposite front foot, finishes high, whatever it is. Okay, you need to be able to come up with some ways that you're going to assess your students by looking at the critical elements of that skill. So this is how we create our assessment. Now that you know what you want your students to know or what you want them to be able to demonstrate, you can create that assessment. How will you be able to determine they've learned the skill? How will they demonstrate to you that they have learned the skill? That's where that assessment comes in. It can be simple as a checklist. And usually when I provide a checklist, I have all the skills I'm looking at, like I just showed you back here. On the previous slide, it had all the critical elements of striking with a short-handed implement, right? So then this is what I want I want to see from my students. I want to see them starting in a ready position. Boom, they get a check right there. They turn sideways to the target. Boom, if they're doing that, they get a check right there. Okay, so this is a structured teacher observation. So I have all the skills written across the top of a page. Then I have the students' names down the left-hand side. And every time I see a student practice one of these critical skills or critical elements, they get a check mark. And throughout the day, as they're practicing, and I'm kind of walking around and observing my students, I can check and see, oh, they've done this, they've done this, they've done this. Okay? Or you might, during a modified game. And this is documentation for student learning, and that's key. We need to document student learning. So we want to make sure our students know what the learning expectations are. Just like adults, we want to know what's expected of us. Well, students want to know that too. Okay? So now we plan our lesson. Now that you know what you want your students to be able to do and how they will demonstrate their learning, now you get to plan the activities you will introduce so they can practice the skill. You know what you want them to be able to do. You've created that assessment. Now let's plan activities that are aligned with your assessment and as well as what you want them to know and be able to do. So this is how I would share this with my students. So my learning expectation is the what. Today we are going to learn how to strike a ball with a paddle. Okay, so in the learning indicator, it just says short-handled implement. But we're being specific. It's going to be a paddle. It's going to be a pickleball paddle. That's what we're using today. Why? Why are we doing this? Kids ask that all the time. Why are we doing this? Well, because we'll be able to play games that use paddles and rackets. Simple. What's the criteria, or what are the criteria for success? I can strike a ball with correct technique. And that's where you come in to teach them that correct technique and teach them the critical elements of the skill, whatever those might be. And I tend to take those different things and show my students, this is what we're learning, this is why we're learning it, and this is how we're going to learn it. All right, now I'm teaching the striking technique. And these are the cues I might use. Starting in ready position, turn sideways, bring that paddle back early, meaning before the ball gets there. Step and swing, contact ball beside your front foot, and you finish high. Okay, you can use any cue you want. These are just examples. Learning activities that are aligned with the grade span learning indicators. So there are so many activities, and these are just some examples. So the first one is what, why, and how. Okay, I'm showing my students, this is what we're doing today. This is posted. They see this when they come in. And then I'm going to demo. First, I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to show them the human ball machine, which is a different game I do. How did you do? They get to rate themselves with their thumometer. If you don't know a thumometer, thumbs up means I did great. Thumb to the side, so-so. Thumbs down, not so well. And then these are just some other activities that I've designed that students can use. And at the end, you'll see, set a goal for next time. How did you do? These are self-assessments. Students get to self-assess, so they get to set a goal for their next class or next period, next time they have you, whatever. Learning sequences. Okay, so I took all those activities and I broke them down. Okay, so we're going to do the first couple, and how did you do is going to be on the very first day as well. So now they can set a goal for the next day. Again, we're doing what, how, and why. What, how, and why is on every day. Again, these are just examples. You, the teacher, you're going to plan these lessons out. I don't know if you have classes every day. Maybe you're on a block and you have them every other day. Whatever the case may be, this is how you would design your curriculum and your lessons. Your assessment is embedded into your instruction to make everything seamless. Okay, so when you are assessing your students, you've taught them those individual skills, the step-by-step how to demonstrate that skill, or how to participate in the skill. So your instruction is right there. They know what you're looking for. Boom, as they're participating, you just get to walk around and assess. They don't even know you're assessing at that moment. Okay, again, here's what we're looking at, that striking technique. And this is all posted in the gym. And you can take these what, whys, and hows. What I do is I have them laminated, and they're using Velcro. They're stuck on a whiteboard, and I have that there all the time. And then I can just write in each day the different things we're doing. Striking progressions. And this is how you're going to move through. Again, you come up with these activities. These are just examples. Different learning activities. Our learning activities should be aligned with the progressions and our objectives, or our learning indicators. Okay, we want our students to be able to strike with a short-handled implement, so all the learning activities have to focus on striking with a short-handled implement. And then we do some assessment for those learning activities. Magnets are great if you've ever worked with magnets. Those are really cool. Have the kids, I would have them write these out and then write out how did they do. Maybe they have exit slips for how did you do. Again, documentation of student learning. Next steps for you as the teacher. What features of this standard-based learning do you think you'll try? Are there any professional developments that will help you level up? You're in a professional development You're in a professional development right now, and this is helping you level up your game. And then how can you get your colleagues on board? I know we all sometimes work with teachers that frustrate us because they're not doing everything they need to do to meet the needs of kids. how can you get your colleagues on board with using this backwards design planning and using the new standards? If you have any questions, you can email me at houston@azhpe.org. Thanks for listening.